afternoon, everybody. What's happening, everybody? Monday, September 15th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more viewers today following what I can only describe as one of the most incredible events I've ever put together out here on Long Island. We're going to show you guys the scenes from the Charlie Kirk Vigil that we had out here on Long Island on Saturday night. It has made the rounds, some might say. On social media, it absolutely blew up. If you've seen any of the Vigil compilations that have been going on over many people put them together, Benny Johnson, Daily Wire, the usual media outlets on the right, have put together a large compilation of vigils that happened all over the world. The Daily Wire did one from every country in basically the Western Hemisphere and South Korea. We were included in that. And I want to thank them for that. I also, I'm going to thank a lot of people today because there was, I'm going to make an individual video for Facebook later on today about the vigil. Il Donald Trumpo, yes, that was a big one. I'm going to give all the shout-outs, and I hope I don't miss anybody. I'm going to show you guys my speech, because I know some people wanted to see it, particularly for the national audience on Rumble, watching right now. So before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place so that everybody can see it as well. It was a big day. It was a really big day. A couple shout outs I want to give right off the bat for this. Let me know if you haven't seen the video. I'm curious to see if anybody hasn't seen it yet. Nick Sorter, one of my good friends, a phenomenal independent journalist. His tweet has like 4 million views at this point. Absolutely wild. So I want to give a big shout out to the team. Dina and Dana, John Caffiaro and Lenny, the sort of Loud Majority team, as it's been known. Jimmy, thank you so much for the help there. Nick Vitale and Vinny, you guys came through unbelievably clutch. Dawn, Callie in the chat, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, regardless, really ran the event there in a tremendous way. Absolutely could not have done it without any of you guys. Big shout out to the Nassau County Police Department who showed up in force. We told them there was going to be 1,000 people there. I may have underrepresented that number in a slight way, which you guys will see tonight. I also want to give a huge thank you to former Congressman D'Esposito, current Congressman Nick LaLota. I'll get into Nick in particular in a minute. Steve Rhodes, State Senator, Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, who gave a statement. Look, Congressman LaLota and I have battled in the past over the last 3 years. Since he got elected, we battled for sure over policy, and we battled over many other things. Let me tell you, the speech that he gave there, Nick, you have my absolute and total support from here on out. It was a beautiful speech. Just the fact that you came out, thank you, because none of you guys had to. And I just want to say thank you. Really, from the bottom of my heart for that. It was really incredible to see everyone out there. I know I'm missing people. I don't mean to. It was a great. Thank Susan for the amazing prayer, and Roger and his son who played the bagpipes at the event. Of course, Nikki G, my queen, who I can't do anything without because I'm a big oaf and I can't do anything without her. Thank you all so much for that. It really was. It really was an incredible day. I want to thank ABC7 Local, who ran the story, one of the only outlets who did. GreaterNewYork.com ran a tremendous piece on it. Some of the other outlets chose not to run it. Newsday, for example, for my Long Islanders out there, Newsday is under a severe amount of fire at the moment for being awful. Which, if you're from Long Island, you know exactly what that means. They've sucked for quite some time, but they brought their level of disgustingness to a level that I absolutely didn't even know was measurable. They were absolutely awful. Publishing one of the most vile political cartoons I've ever seen in my entire life, and then they put out some bullshit apology. I'm sure many of you have seen it. I'm not even going to give it the time of day by putting it on my airwaves. I'm not even going to give it the time of day for that. We made some big announcements at it. The formation of the Long Island Young Republican Club. We're going to get into all that stuff throughout the day. Before we go, before we dive into the news and what we know about the shooter and what more is coming out, because there is drip of information, which is going to happen in any wild investigation like that. For the people who didn't get to see it, here was my speech. You guys get to hear me sing, which is something most people don't get to, which is something most people don't really get, because I don't sing in public because I can't sing. But here it was. USA! 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 USA!
Everybody want to meet the guy who's responsible for all of this tonight? Do you want to meet the guy who's responsible for all of this tonight? Please welcome founder of the Loud Majority, Kevin Smith.
Hold it in.
Man, I wish you could see what I'm seeing right now. But I know Charlie can see it. I mean, look at this. Saturday night, everyone could be doing other things, but instead we're here together. We are here to celebrate the life of the avatar of a generation. A man who has done more for this country than anybody in my lifetime.
Nikki,
I can tell you that.
I'm live on Facebook. Can you just take a video of the crowd?
If you guys watch the show every day, you know that I haven't been handling this very well. I got to meet Charlie about 2 months ago in Tampa, Florida at the Student Action Summit. When he asked me to be an ambassador for Turning Point USA, it was one of the greatest honors of my life. Because what it conveyed to me was that he knew all of this. He knew the rallies. He knew the voter registration drives. He knew what was happening out here in our little corner of the world. And I want to take this time to thank all of you who have been there with me and Sean since the beginning, for helping to make my dreams come true. I mean, this is unbelievable. Thousands of people together. And they're still showing up. I think they're still showing up. I think they had a park in Freeport and in Babylon. And everybody came out. Everybody came out because, in some way, Charlie did something for you. Charlie was the voice of the voiceless. He gave motivation to so many young people all over this country. And now I want to take a minute to talk to you guys. I want to talk to the kids. I want to talk to the college students. You all are the future of this country. Your parents, people like me, we are leaving it to you. And it is up to you to fix. It is up to you to preserve the values that came before you, to preserve and live out the principles that came before you. So if you guys want to honor Charlie Kirk, if you want to keep his memory alive, get involved. Get active. If you're a college student out there and you're watching this, Get involved with your local Turning Point chapter. Don't have one? Start one. I know a lot of people in the crowd who have done it already. They started chapters at their high schools and at their colleges, and it didn't matter what the people on campus said. Because courage is not about not being afraid. Courage is about being terrified and doing it anyway. And that's what Charlie did 3 days ago. You think standing up on the stage, you think the congressman and myself weren't worried? Every time we did a rally, we were always so worried that something was going to happen. But that's what they want. They want us afraid. They want us quiet. They want us in fear. And all of you coming out tonight after what happened 3 days ago are telling them no. That you will not stop. That you cannot stop. Each and every one of you lost something the other day, and I know I did too. I lost, let's face it, we lost the future president. Let's face it, Charlie never said he was going to run, but, you know, let's be real. He was going to run, and he was going to win. And he was going to win because of the movement that he started. The movement that he created, gathering college kids. Over the course of the last, 10, 12 years, college after college, area after area. And that's why tonight I am proud to announce something that we've been working on for quite some time. Many of you know that I'm on the board of the New York City Young Republican Club. Well, tonight I'll be launching the Long Island Young Republican Club. So if you have kids in high school, well, they gotta wait a little bit. If you got kids in college, 20s, 30s, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. I want to know what matters to you. And that's how I am going to keep Charlie's legacy alive, by building an institution that will live on long past me and that will leave us in a better place. Look, this is our little corner of the world. It's up to us to protect it. It's up to us to save it. It's up to us to do the things that we need to do. And when Erica Kirk spoke last night, I mean, I didn't know it was coming. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't really keep it together. The moment she spoke about the loss of her husband, I broke down, but then I felt empowered when she said that she was gonna make sure that Turning Point USA was the biggest and baddest organization in this country. And I'm here to let Erica know that Long Island is gonna do its part. And I don't know how she did it. I don't know how. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I didn't think I could come up here tonight. But just watching all of you gave me the strength to know that this is what has to happen. Watching Erica Kirk, watching her boldness and her defiance to say, you will not stop us. You may have killed the messenger, but you will never kill the message. And that's what legacy is. Legacy is building something that lives on after you. And to watch her do it with such grace, with such amazing grace. Guys, I think I'm gonna need your help with this one. Amazing grace.
How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was once lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
That was gorgeous, guys. Thank you. Guys, if you got a candle, light it up. If you guys don't have a candle, take out your phones and put the light on. And raise them up. I want to light up the sky for Charlie. I want it to be so bright out here that Charlie can see you.
Oh, people, if you could see wow. Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm goosebumps all up and down my body right now.
Guys, this is one of the proudest moments of my life. I got to be honest with you. We've gotten to do a lot of incredible things. To see you all coming out on 3 days' notice like this has been unbelievable. I can't wait for you all to see the video that's being taken right now and seeing this is unreal. You know, until this happened, I didn't really understand the concept of faith. I didn't. I prayed and I talked to God, but I didn't really understand faith until I listened to Erica last night and until I saw all of you. And I got to tell you, for the first time in about 20 years, I think I know what I'm doing tomorrow morning.
Church, baby.
Now, if I could bring up, it's 8 o'clock. I want to thank everybody. Really, I cannot tell you all enough what it means that you're all out here. Not only for Charlie, not only for the movement, but it gives me hope to know that you guys are just not afraid. You're not afraid to get involved. You're not afraid to become the change you want to see. So if anybody has any questions about the announcement I made tonight, feel free to reach out to me. Half of you have my phone number. So, just don't give it to the New York Times, please. How the hell would it give it to them? Whatever. Guys, reach out, network, connect, and to the young people that are here. To the young people who, look, if you're a teenager, there's a million better things you could have been doing on a Saturday night. But you're here for a reason. Something brought you here. And what brought you here is that you know deep down in your soul that you have the ability to be the change you want to see. And if you want to make Charlie proud, then do it. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I love every single one of you. Do it for Charlie, everybody.
Charlie Kirk.
I can't hear you.
Oh, Jesus.
So that was just a taste of the night we had. It was incredible. You guys, if you guys are reading the comments, you see everybody that was in there, that was there, that got to experience that. It was, it truly was an uplifting moment, and it was great. It felt good. I feel like everybody needed it. And look, I'm not alone. People did them all over the place. The New York City Young Republican Club did one in Madison Square Park. A young man from Kings Park, he's a teenager. He put one together in like 6 hours that had like 100 people at it up here in Suffolk County. It was really good. It was really good stuff. And, as far as the announcement about setting up what we're planning up here, I want to be clear. The energy behind that is absolutely tremendous. I've gotten over 500 messages across all across Facebook and Instagram, across my email. I'm getting emails right now as this is coming in. So for anybody on Long Island who wants to get involved, anybody between the ages of 18 and 40, shoot me a message. We're going to be doing stuff all over Long Island with young people, getting them involved, not only as a networking thing, but as to show people what politics really is, to show them what change they can actually make, whether it's on their campuses, whether it's in their neighborhoods, in their high schools, whatever it may be. Just also to let them know that what they're feeling, they're not alone at. They're not alone. So this plan has been in the works for quite some time. Obviously, it's been sped up with the events of last week, but we're going to bring you guys more details on that when everything is finalized. We're going to get on to the news now because there is stuff that I want to make sure that I get into. Once again, guys, I want to thank everybody so much for coming down. Everybody who came down and helped. Seriously, I'm getting emails right now about it. So if you're young people, you're on Long Island, and you're looking to get involved, you're looking to join the organization, shoot me a message on any of the social media platforms. Like I said in the clip, most of you have my phone number anyway. I will get back to you at some point over the next couple of days. There's a lot going on. But let's dive into the news, guys. Before we get to that, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here at the Loud Majority. Believe me, running these events are not cheap. A lot of people donated time and donated money, so I really want to make sure I get them their money back for everything that they put forth. And I can't do that without your help. If you've gotten everything you want on the shop, you can become a monthly donor to the Loud Majority. Click that donate button at the very top of the screen. That is the best way to help out over here. So, what more do we know? What more do we know about this shooter? Well, a lot has come out. A lot has come out over the course of the last several days. For a while, liberals and leftists and all the other idiots out there tried to convince us that this was some guy who was into video game culture and some guy who was into meme culture, and he was a groyper, and he watched Nick Fuentes. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Fuentes, but nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it whatsoever. It turns out this guy was the only radical leftist in his family. And oh, by the way, what else was that little nugget? What else was? Oh, I can't put my finger on it. That's right. He was dating a transgender person.
And one more point on forensics. We were able to obtain in record time the text message chain between the suspect and his live-in partner, as well as other critical cellular information from our CAS team that analyzes cell phone data towers in the area to pinpoint the locations of the suspect and other individuals he was speaking with. This is critical information that the FBI processed and got to prosecutors so they can lawfully use it in a court of law. And our investigation, our interviews continue, but we've learned some shocking things when we spoke to his family and friends as well.
You want to share them? Those shocking things?
Sure. And my job as FBI director is not to speak to motive, is to speak to the facts. And that's what I'm going to do. His family has collectively told investigators that he subscribed to left-wing ideology, and even more so in these last couple of years. And he had a text message exchange, he the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for. Those are factually accurate investigatory findings by the FBI that we've handed over to the local authorities and the federal authorities to make their prosecutorial decisions. But I believe in this instance of such public importance, the public has a right to know. And I've told you I'm committed to transparency, and that's what I'm doing here today.
Why didn't that...
I mean, it's, look, and I hate to even say this because it is so... Do I think that this person was some sort of ideological, radical Marxist? No, I don't actually. I don't think they really stood for anything whatsoever besides themselves and whatever feelings they may have had in the particular moment. The bigger problem I have is the gaslighting of the media, is the fact that people are out there just flat out lying about it. And Democrats, particularly Democrats online, have flooded the zone with their favorite word, misinformation, about this shooter. Obviously living with a guy who thinks he's a woman, Hated Charlie Kirk because he spoke the facts that a man can't become a woman, which, again, I have to say, in the times in which we are living in, it is very odd that I have to say that sentence out loud, and I don't know what, like, worry about the repercussions of saying the very obvious thing out loud. We saw that, unfortunately, Charlie was shot when he brought up the topic of mass transgender violence all over the country, something we can see with our own eyeballs. You know, don't trust your lying eyes, as the old story goes. It's not about any of that. It is the response that concerns me. It is the way people react to tragedy, sometimes, in my opinion, is almost worse than the tragedy itself, because it says something about us as a broader society. It says something about us as a culture. And there have been a lot of people out there, just some of the worst people I've ever seen in my life, celebrating the death of a person, celebrating the murder of someone. And the left is very upset. The left is very upset because there seems to be an ongoing wave of cancel culture on the political right. Now, I want to make something very, very clear here. This is in no way, shape, or form, cancel culture. None. We dealt with that over the last couple of years. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. There is a galaxy-size difference between your employer not wanting to hire you or not wanting to pay you anymore because you cheered on someone being assassinated, and Kevin Hart losing his gig at the Oscars because he made a gay joke 15 years ago. If I have to explain to you what the difference is with that, if I have to explain to you why that's not the same, then quite frankly, there is no saving you. There's no saving you. And the idiots over on MSNBC are freaking out about this.
I think that this push for mass firings could become quite significant, and it already is. I mean, compared to the aftermath of January 6th, this does seem to be turning into a very aggressive attempt to purge not just, government officials or, in the Hegseth example, in the Defense Department, but also specifically people who work in education, who work in healthcare, who work in government. Those are the fields that a lot of these right-wing figures have been mentioning over and over again when talking about how just random internet users have responded to this shooting.
So wait, what are they doing? Are they scouring social media? Is that what they're doing? Or getting hearsay? Somebody said something? I mean,
so there's one website called Charlie's Murderers that's gotten a huge following on on Twitter, and they basically have assembled over, the last count I saw was like 40,000 different examples of just, essentially a grassroots, people giving screenshots, names, professions. So it's already getting a little bit out of hand.
Wow. All right.
Oh, it's getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. Well, it should get out of hand. It should. You know why? Because if you're, I don't know, a nurse or a doctor, and you cheered on someone being shot, I got to tell you something. I was watching a show before, and somebody brought up a point that really bothered me. If I go into a coffee shop and I see my barista, if I go into a coffee shop and I see my barista, maybe I don't think that person wants me dead. But now in the back of my mind, I'm thinking if I were killed, that person would celebrate it. Now, coffee doesn't mean anything. But if I'm in the hospital and the nurse who comes in to, assist in my surgery or pull my tooth or teach my children or cook my food would cheer on me dying? No, I don't think you should have a job. The First Amendment in no way protects you from your employer finding out that you're a piece of shit and no longer wanting to employ you. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. So what? If I get shot at an event like the one I just showed you, and I get dragged into the hospital, and I happen to have this shirt on, am I supposed to worry that the nurse in the ER, in the trauma unit of the ER, is not going to provide me care because I'm a Trump supporter? That's a real thing. And if you're one of the, look, you want to be completely indifferent, you want to not care, don't care. You didn't know Charlie, you didn't like him, whatever. Nobody's asking you to stand for a moment of silence. However, you are not guaranteed employment by people who find you repugnant. Moreover, if you're a teacher, if you're a university professor, I don't think you have any business teaching young people if you're going to cheer on a father being killed in front of his kids. And if you want to call that cancel culture, if you want to claim that's the same as, I don't know, Sarah Silverman losing her job because she wore blackface in a comedy sketch 20 years ago, you want to think that that's the same thing? You're either naive, being disingenuous, or you're a liar. Flat out. A Secret Service agent cheered on the death of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, you should be removed, bro. You should be. I'm not saying you can't pick up garbage. You can't have another job. I'm not saying you can't have steady employment somewhere. We shouldn't throw you out on the street. But you should not be in influential positions if you are going to cheer on the death of a father in front of his son, in front of his kids. That's not cancel culture. It's not even what some people are dubbing it accountability culture. It's not that either. It's you're a piece of shit, and you are not required to be employed by any particular company. Which, of course, brings me, because, let's be honest here. When we want to find the worst possible take on any subject anywhere under the sun, naturally we've got to look to Don Lemon. Don Lemon, you guys will remember, he used to have a show on CNN before he claimed women in their 30s aren't in their prime anymore, and before his ratings sunk, and before he was an out-and-out racist. Before he did all of that, he was on CNN. Now he's got his own podcast, so he's got to compete in the marketplace of ideas like the rest of us, and needless to say, he is absolutely failing, and it's because he's come out with thoughts like this.
So there is, this is sort of a two different universes, two different worlds that we live in here in America. And I'm generalizing because there are some folks, there's some in every bunch. There's some who are black folks who are like, yeah, I loved him or whatever. Okay, fine. But those are few and far between. Let's just be honest. And so for the most part, people don't understand, like, what is this, all of this flags and half staff for, when most people had no idea who Charlie Kirk was, by the way. You know that, right? I meet a lot of people out there, and you see my lives, they're like, I didn't really know him. I just heard about him when this happened, because it was mostly for like younger people who are really politically activated, like college people who are, just wanted to, college people like to fight on campus. And when I went to school at LSU, we had something very similar, and it was called Free Speech Alley. I think Free Speech Alley is still there, where you could go to Free Speech Alley and you could say whatever you want. The thing is that you could then, and you would not get suspended or expelled or, disciplined for saying some shit. People just said whatever it is that they wanted at Free Speech Alley. Much of it was offensive, but I kind of liked Free Speech Alley. But that's not the America that we're living in right now. We live in an America of cancel culture, and it is the cancel culture on the right now that is leading the charge. And the hypocrisy, I've been writing something about this. The hypocrisy on the right about free speech is, it's off the charts. Because think about it. If you actually believed in what Charlie Kirk said he believed in, didn't quite practice all the time, is free speech, then why are you out to cancel people who are using their First Amendment right of free speech to tell you how they feel about Charlie Kirk by using his own words? It doesn't make sense because Charlie Kirk didn't make sense. And so the response is irrational. So they're trying to, all these people are Nancy Mace and Megyn Kelly and all these people, they can't figure out how they want to respond. Is he a crazy loony left liberal? Is he some sort of incel? Is he a furry? Is he whatever? Like they're spinning, trying to, how do we make this make sense? You can't, because it doesn't make sense.
Actually, it makes complete and total sense, Don Lemon. Now, look, I want to be clear. We're going to break down every point that Don Lemon just made, because I am shocked that a person could live as long as he has, being that wrong that quickly in that short a period of time. But it makes complete sense. He was dating a trans person. Charlie Kirk was speaking on trans violence. He got shot in the neck. And moreover, Megyn Kelly and Nancy Mace have made their points quite clear. Number two, as I have already said, the First Amendment does not guarantee your employment if the person employing you finds you repugnant for celebrating someone being killed in front of their family. But let's break down the points. Few and far between black people even care about Charlie Kirk. I've been to Turning Point USA 6 times now. Plenty of black people there. Of course, Don's got to bring it to the racial argument, because in Don Lemon's mind, he can't wrap his brain around. He can't wrap his tiny little brain around the fact that it's possible. I'm not saying likely, but it's possible, Don, that people don't like you, not because you're black, not because you're gay, but because you're an asshole. Turns out assholes come in every color, sexual orientation, creed, religion, just a big flaming asshole. And it turns out you're one of them. Who you sleep with or the melanin level of your skin has no bearing on whether or not I dislike you, Don Lemon, because you're an idiot. You're not a good person. You're not a good person. So when he says most people didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was, well, that's a little strange, considering since he died, over 4,000 requests for Turning Point USA chapters have popped up all over the country. That's a little odd, considering we saw rallies in New Zealand, in Australia, in Poland, in Germany, in France, in Italy. 1 million people marched through the streets of London. We had 5,000 people come out in my little corner of the world. There were 1,000 people in New York City alone, not to mention the memorials that are popping up all over this country. So is it possible, Don Lemon, that not only did most people know who Charlie Kirk was, but most people loved him? And just to the last point, before I play Don Lemon's worst possible argument ever, LSU had something called Free Speech Alley. Free Speech Alley at LSU, where you could say anything you want with no repercussions whatsoever. You know, Don, we used to have a free speech alley in America. It started in San Francisco, and it went all the way to New York. And then on the other end, it went all the way from South Texas, all the way to the northern border. It used to be called the United States of America until people like you got in charge. But Don Lemon starts off his belligerent ranting by trying to think, he's saying, he's rubbing his beard. He's thinking a little bit here. And then eventually he gets to the part he really wants to say.
The thing that is so obvious about it, and I think is so disgusting, is that you don't really care. You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks, to boost your podcast or your streaming show or your radio show or your television show or your news show or your MAGA bona fides with the MAGA group or your political stripes, that you can improve it, or you can have a moment where you're crying in front of the cameras. You gather all the reporters at the Capitol and you go, and it's your fault, and it's your fault, and it's the left and whatever.
What are you doing, bro? You're the one that doesn't care, and you're using it for clicks. I can't imagine why CNN fired you. But hey, look, guys. Nobody knew who Charlie Kirk was. Nobody knew who he was, according to the once awful but still pretty bad CNN host. Well, Charlie Kirk had a big impact on the youth vote in this country. Don't take my word for it. Here's CNN's Harry Enton.
As we remember Charlie Kirk, I think, of course, it's important to note that one of his main missions was to engage with and bring younger folks over to the conservative side of the aisle. And based upon the results of the last presidential election, I think we can say he was quite successful in doing so. What are we talking about? Well, let's take a look at 18 to 24-year-olds who voted for Donald Trump. That is, voters under the age of 25. Look at this. In 2016, it was just 34%. Jump ahead to 2020, it was just 31%. But look in this past presidential election in 2024. Donald Trump's percentage of voters under the age of 25 jumped all the way up to 43% of the vote. Indeed, when you compare his percentage of the vote with that of Kamala Harris's, and we look at the margin, we can say that Trump had the best performance for any Republican nominee for president this entire century among voters under the age of 25. Now, when we dig into the numbers a little bit deeper, we can see even more of the influence of Charlie Kirk. What are we talking about? Well, let's take a look at males under the age of 25. That is age 18 to 24-year-old males, presidential margin. You go back to 2016, Hillary Clinton easily won that vote by 11 points. You jump ahead to 2020, you can see Joe Biden nearly doubled Clinton's margin, won it by an even larger margin. Look at this, a 20-point win for Joe Biden. But look at this past presidential election. Donald Trump actually won males under the age of 25. He won them by 3 points, and in doing so became the first Republican nominee for president to win males under the age of 25 this entire century. Now, one of the reasons that Donald Trump was so successful among younger voters was because of advice given to him by Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said, bypass the traditional media, go straight on the podcast, talk to younger voters where they are. Indeed, that was one heck of a good piece of advice, because get this, where Generation Z prefers to get its news, only 8% prefer to get it on television. Look at digital, though. We're talking social media, we're talking podcasts, etc. 86% of Generation Z prefers to get its news through digital media. So that advice that Charlie Kirk gave to Donald Trump to bypass the traditional media to reach out to younger voters, it was a really smart piece of advice. Of course, it wasn't Kirk merely advising Donald Trump to bypass the traditional media to reach out to younger voters. Charlie Kirk did it himself, right? Of course, we've seen all those campus rallies that he did, engaging with younger voters there. But of course, it was also on podcasts, on digital, where Charlie Kirk was engaging with younger voters. So get this, the Charlie Kirk Show podcast ranking, well, this past quarter, it ranked in the top 10 in news, ranked in the top 10. So it wasn't just that Charlie Kirk was advising Donald Trump. It was, of course, that Charlie Kirk was meeting the younger voters where they were and trying to persuade them to his side of the aisle. And based upon the 2024 election results, I think we could say that Charlie Kirk was quite successful.
But nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who he was, according to Don Lemon. Who really knows? Who really knows? I can't imagine why you're not on TV anymore, Don. I can't imagine. I'm having a hard time figuring it out. I can't really put my finger on it. Can't really do it. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second. Before we do that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Look, switching banks can be made simple to people who actually support your values, and you can do that by going to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. So, look, I've been going off on the political left for a while on this topic, but not every one of them is bad. Not every one of them is bad. Bill Maher gave a completely rational take. Bernie Sanders gave a completely rational take about how all Charlie wanted to do was talk. And he got killed for his trouble. Here was Bill Maher.
Just the fight I am been having with the left, while I'm, of course, the irony, as a lot of people in my position, is still a liberal, just a traditional liberal, won't go along with their, like a lot of the stuff that's just crazy out there too far, which gets Trump elected, blah, blah, blah. As I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Took me a second. Sorry, I had to absorb that.
Okay. They're the people who don't want to talk. It's my main issue with them. And Charlie Kirk was a guy who, he was always talking. And I talked to him here. The right-wingers, say what you want about them, but they talk to you. They're not into this leftist think. The left really has much more of I don't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, you're deplorable, I can't break bread with you.
Yeah.
That attitude, and all the right-wingers, they don't have that attitude. No, again, I didn't vote for them. And Charlie Kirk and I certainly don't agree on much politically. But he sat here, he's a human being, he's not a monster.
And a husband and a father.
Yes, and I liked him. I liked them all. They're all nice people when you meet them in person, and they're not as crazy as they would, nobody's as crazy as they make them out to be.
Look, somebody that I disagree with, somebody that I think most of us disagree with on a lot of things, but gives a completely, totally rational take. I wish there was more of that. He also talked about it on his show, about how we could all be a little bit better in this scenario. And it's troublesome. It absolutely is. And why is it troublesome? Well, because it turns out, and I hate to break this to everybody, and I hope I'm proven wrong on this, but I've got a feeling that these sorts of things are going to get worse before they get better. Why? Because the majority of young people think that sometimes political violence is okay. Here was Fox News.
Now, let me share this poll. Political violence is never acceptable. I think most people agree with that. If you're a baby boomer, 93% of you say obviously, Gen X, 86%. But here's what I find fascinating, Lawrence. Gen Z only says 58% of them believe that political violence is never acceptable. And there's no political breakout, so I'd love to see if you're left-leaning, if you believe it's so, or if you're right-leaning, if you believe that's acceptable.
It's interesting. It wasn't broken down that way. Charlie Kirk actually talked about this assassination culture that was developing in Gen Z.
Yes.
What is that?
I blame, from a personal standpoint, Charlie ran Turning Point USA. I ran Campus Reform, which has all the conservative college reporters that are on the campus. And if you don't believe me, some of the radicalization that's happening through the college professors, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah. Go to campusreform.com, and if you have a child in college, type in the school and see the stuff that the professors are teaching these kids on a day-to-day basis. And so when you weaponize speech, it becomes a problem. Now, I have some personal friends of mine that are on the left, and we were going back and forth this weekend about what is an extremist and what is not an extremist. And they had the point of view that they condemned what happened to Charlie, but he was an extremist. I was like, those have legal ramifications. When you call someone an extremist, this pushes people to the edge to feel like they got to take that in. When you call someone Hitler, when you say that they're a threat to democracy,
a fascist,
some people in their brain feels like you got to stop that person.
But do you know what's a threat to democracy? Not being able to have civil discourse.
That's right.
Exactly what we're founded on. Nobody cared more about civil discourse
than Charlie Kirk. Nobody did. Yet there are still people out there saying that for some reason we've got to tone down our rhetoric. We didn't shoot somebody in the neck. You guys did. You're the ones who did it. You're the ones who would lead pieces of crap like this to stomp all over a memorial for Charlie Kirk. These are the kinds of people that operate in your universe and then proceed to get the ever-loving crap beaten out of him as he stomped all over a shrine outside of Turning Point USA wearing the same T-shirt as the guy who did the shooting. That's not our people. Those are your people. Those are your people. Guys, we'll be back in one. Actually, hold on a minute. Before we get to the break, I got 5 minutes left. I want to make sure I play this clip of my friend Jack Posobiec talking about his friend Charlie Kirk. Before we get to that, Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, went on Fox News this morning and was talking about how there were multiple signs ahead of time that there could be something amiss with this guy.
There appear to have been multiple warning signs. You just laid out some of them. There were people in his network, friends and family, who had stated that he had become more political, that he had become, at some parts, I believe some of his coworkers had stated that he had kind of detached himself when the topic of politics came up and walked away from them. Family members said he'd become more political, leading us to believe that this ideology had infected him and had taken over. And he was just intent, it appears, from the data we've accumulated and the channel and that note, which we have some evidence may have existed before based on the communications in that channel, that his target was obviously going to be Charlie and that people knew in advance. The question is, again, I just want to go back to what you had asked before. Did they know? Were they sure of this? Or did they hear this and just write it off? That's what we're going to have to find out. And that's what we're investigating now. Bill, this investigation is just begun. This isn't even the beginning of the beginning. You know, yes, we have a subject in custody. You know, everybody's innocent until proven guilty in our constitutional republic. However, this is not done by any stretch. Our men and women out there in the Bureau have worked tirelessly all weekend. I just got back to D.C. Last night. And, Cash and I were out there on the scene. We walked the scene. We went through every single component of it. We saw the evidence up close and personal. And we went out there to be able to make command decisions with our team on the ground. And I think the process, although not perfect, of course, I think the process went pretty well considering we got him in 33 hours.
Okay, yeah. Now, the last part of this is what I want to talk about real quick. Guys, we do not have all the information yet, and we're not going to get it for a little while. So if you're out there, and I'm talking to some people that I consider friends, if you're out there and you're like, ooh, but what about this? What about that? That doesn't make sense. What about this over here? Here, 9 out of the 10 things make sense, but then there's a 10th one, so obviously it's a global Mossad conspiracy. Shut the Just because you don't understand it, or just because certain bits of information haven't been divulged yet, doesn't mean it's some kind of a global conspiracy. Doesn't mean that something's being hidden. Doesn't mean that this one's doing that. Maybe they just haven't released the information yet. Maybe the speed in which information travels in our society has not yet caught up to the speed in which the FBI does their thing. So why doesn't everybody just breathe for a second? Guys, before we wrap up today, I'm going to let my friend Jack Posobiec talk about his friend Charlie Kirk.
Just because you see an influencer online, just because you get mad at something they said in a 10-second clip, that doesn't mean that you have to go and pick up a rifle and shoot them.
Charlie Kirk's podcast continued on Friday without him.
All right, well, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. We're remembering our friend Charlie Kirk.
His friend and Turning Point contributor Jack Posobiec sat in his studio, leaving Kirk's chair open as a tribute.
I think the worst possible way to remember Charlie would be to turn these lights off, that this is his life's work.
How do you fill this void?
Well, look, everybody's got to step up, and there's no replacement for Charlie Kirk.
Posobiec is a leading voice in right-wing media, where some of his peers were quick to call Kirk's assassination an act of war.
Charlie Kirk's a casualty of war.
Do you think we're at war?
My friend's in a box right now, and it wasn't an accident.
Are we facing a civil war?
Well, there's no question that we're clearly facing asymmetric civil warfare. One of the key aspects of that is political assassinations. That being said, the idea that we're going to a, classic civil war scenario, I hope and I pray that that doesn't happen.
Do you feel any responsibility to help bring the temperature down in this political discourse?
I want people to be safe, but if you're someone who is part of a group that is fanning the flames of violence, that is encouraging this or celebrating this, then that's absolutely something that we have to tamp down 100%.
The governor this morning was describing the suspect having this family dinner. This is what the governor said. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate.
I mean, it's from that person's perspective, Charlie Kirk represented everything they hated. He loved debate. He loved just talking things out. It's what he lived for. It's what he died doing. And this idea that, Charlie is the one spreading this, no, he's got it completely backwards.
Now Turning Point and the conservative right have to figure out where their movement goes from here.
No, we don't. We got it figured out. And we're all going to do it. Each and every one of us. Guys, if you're out there and you got young kids, they go to college, they go to high school, start a Turning Point chapter. Go to tpusa.com. That's tpusa.com and get information on how you can start up a Turning Point chapter. Also, guys, get your tickets for AmFest in Arizona in December. I hear they are selling out fast. I will be there. I hope you guys can be there too. Pete Santilli is coming up next on LFA TV. Until tomorrow, everybody, stay loud.